Welcome back. I saw that my camera failed. Thank goodness I noticed. I am now going to do the white. As I was saying, I like this white because it is actually quite thick. And I like my daisy to be bulky. We are going to start with not a magic circle, but a slip knot. So in the magic circle, the yarn's in the front. We make the magic circle like that. The slip knot, the yarn is in the back, for my personal preference. Then we go through and we catch the yarn and slip it. I'll do that again. Finger, wrap the yarn to the back, the short part. Put your hook underneath. Go and catch that small part. Keep it on the hook. Slip it off. So that's my slip knot. It looks complicated, but once you actually get it right, you basically just want to make a knot. Now, I put the short yarn to the back of my finger because I want my slip knot to work this way. Some people don't want it that way. They don't like it like that. They want it the other way. I do this because when I sew it up, I give that little tail a little tug, and that means that knot becomes tighter and this loop here becomes smaller. I make sure the circle is facing the correct way. The back is knobbly. I'm going to move this camera slightly. Each time I look, I see I have to move my hands down. That's better. So that's the back, the knobbly parts. And on the front, you can see all the nice little V's all lined up. You can go into any hole. I just want to keep the tails nice and neat, tucked away with this finger here. Tuck my tails away. And I go into the two parts of the V. Go through. And I'll be fetching the yarn. As you can see, it's handy now to give this tail a little tug. Go through. That is now anchoring my work. You can give the tail another little tug. Keep that loop there nice and small. The anchor, I like to have it nice and tight and snug, because if you don't, later on it starts to gape and it will make two big gaping loops here on the beginning of your work. And I like to have them nice and tight and tucked away. So that base is, for me, important to really get it as compact and tight as possible. Now we can start. Chain 1. I don't pull the chain down. I leave him as is because he is now part of the first stitch. That is going to count as one stitch. We are going to be making double crochets. I think in the UK, please correct me if I'm wrong, it's a treble crochet. I'm using US terms. So double crochet, we're wrapping over, going through the hole where we were, through that V. We're fetching the yarn. And we are making the first part of the double crochet. But we're not completing it. We are keeping it on the hook. Making another one. There it is, pulling it through the first two loops, and we're making another one. One, two, three, four. 4 make up. You can call it a cluster, you can call it a group. Has all different names. We'll be chaining 2 between each one. So this is the first one there. You see 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that we have 4 of them, we're going to take the yarn over the hook. We're going to pull through all of the loops. We're going to chain 2. Keep those chains nice and tight. Don't let them gape. And we're going to go into the next V. Now this group will be slightly different because you are not climbing up from the base. You're actually coming from the top, from where the chain is. Go into the V. You make the first one. Remember, you're not completing the double crochet, you're just making the first step of the double crochet. 1. We make another one. We make another one. And we make another one. There are 4 stitches, 4 double crochets. See there? But now there are actually 5 loops on the hook. So it can be a bit confusing because with the first one we only had 4 loops on the hook. But this is because that first loop there on the hook is from the chain. So if you take them away, you've got 4 stitches. And you're going to be pulling the yarn. You fetch the yarn with a hook. You're going to be pulling the yarn through all 5, and that closes your group. Chain 2, and you repeat the process. Yarn over the hook, go into the next V, make your first one, yarn over the hook, go back into the V, you make your second one. Sometimes it does, you have to be careful, it can actually split the yarn, just keep an eye on that. Yarn over the hook, go into the V, bring it through, make your third one, yarn over the hook, go back into the V, and you're making your 4th one. Yarn over the hook and come through all 5 loops. Chain 2. Once you start making the daisy, you will see why. It's all, of course, personal preference. If you're using extremely thin yarn and a small hook, your hands will adapt. But I like the slightly chunkier yarn, even though this is a DK, double knit. I like the thicker double knits simply because it's easier to hold. Later on, like for instance, this is quite a thin double knit simply because I'm using up my stock. But then it's just easy going. But that first daisy part is just so nice when it's bulky. Okay, whoops, wrong way. I'm going to be repeating that all the way around. I'm not going to be talking because I'll be going at my own pace. You can either push pause now and work at your own pace, or when I get to the end and if you're not finished, then just push pause and we will finish the daisy together. So here I've come to where that V is, that's my loop. I'm giving it a small tug at the back. On the previous row, the previous color had come a little bit open, a little bit unraveled. Give it a little tug and to close it nicely again. 1, 2. Some yarns do stick better, they don't slip out. Other ones are very slippery. When I sew up later on, if I see that anything's gaping, I do tug them to close them up. And I'm coming to the end here. I'll chain 2, 1, 2, but I will double check that I have 8 clusters, groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only then will I cut the yarn. You have 2 options here. As you can see, some of them I've left open, and some, let me see where I've done. I've just joined it as I went. I seem to change per days, and there's no rhyme or reason to why I do it. This one I actually, as I was crocheting, I just joined it on there. The end result's the same. I'll show you how to join it. If I wasn't, I'd be cutting it there and pulling it through. But if I'm going to join it, then I go to the top of this group. Now, not to the chain's on that side. Top of this group, there is a V, there it is. Go in there, fetch your yarn, and you bring it through both. Basically, you're making a slip knot. Now, I will cut it, making sure it's nice and long, got something to work with, and I'll pull it through and put it aside for later on when I'm sewing them all up. But for the video, I'll be sewing it up not right now, because I sew them up before I go on to the next step, next color. For this job, I use a sharp point. They're sold as a darn needle, but they are sharp pointed. In French, they're called a chenille, chenille, and you can find them on eBay or Amazon. So instead of going backwards, I'm going to go along with the work. I am literally, let me see if I can come in. I'm literally just going to go into this V here, and I'm going to be catching as much of the yarn as possible. I'm just going to recreate another V. You do it the way you want. You start to get a feel for what you like, what you don't like. So now it's invisible. If you look at it like that, you can't actually see anywhere where it is, where it has been. The only way you know where the end is because there's a slight bump. You can feel the slight bump. Turn it over, and I'm literally just working it away for now. Make sure it's not coming through, and he's just going to stay there until I work the whole square away, all the threads. So now he's just neat, and I'll do the whole pile, and then I'll go on to the next step. So this is the end of this video. It was ready to show you how to do the daisy, and I'll do another video. It'll be part 3 on how to do a couple of rounds of color. Thank you.